Hi guys, once again, good evening. Welcome to the second part of tonight's session. Well, we're about to finish basically our unit. Today and tomorrow, of course, we will be covering the final parts. Remember that on Tuesday, you will have the final exam. In this case, talking about the official end, let's put it like that, of B1 to eventually move to B2, okay? We will have the speaking part. Let's say that the general parameters of the speaking part, we already know how it works, but my idea is like to share that information tomorrow. I usually send like the email with that information, just like for protocol, but you already know like the dynamic of that, let's say, activity in particular. But just like to keep on that idea, that would be it. Of course, I'm sure that you have already wondered when we start, in your case will be B2, you would start, we basically, we would finish on the 21st, that Tuesday, and then we would have 2 days of break, let's call it like that, would be 22nd and 23rd, and you guys begin B.2 the 24th, okay? I'm sure that you have already wondered about that. Probably Daniela already told you, but also I like, let's say, refresh your memory with that information when we would be starting the next cycle, in your case, B.2, okay? Well, I think that it is time to take attendance. And then we can continue working on our unit talking about the strange events and mysteries. 16. Where are the people? Saraya Acevedo.
Hello, teacher, I'm here.
Okay. Cristian Albarracín.
Here, teacher.
Okay. Joelia Ayala.
Here, teacher.
Okay. Andrea Vaca.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Gilbert Cárdenas.
I'm here, teacher.
Okay. John Carrero. Not here for the moment. Brian Cordero. I think I saw Brian a few seconds ago. We'll see. Stephanie Córdoba. Not yet. Silvia Durán.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Judy Lisette Liscano.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Diana Lisette Lozada.
Present, teacher.
Ay, me salté. Freddy Fonseca.
I'm here.
Okay. Let me see the chat. Okay, Brian, you're here. Daniela Lozada.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Andrea Juliana Muñoz.
I'm here, teacher.
Okay. Natalie Joana Pérez.
I'm here, teacher.
Okay. Mayra Juliet Pinzón. Not here for the moment. Mayra Alejandra Plata.
Hi, teacher, present.
Hello. Harold David Rodríguez.
Hi, teacher. I'm here.
Okay. Janini Sánchez. Not here for the moment. Angélica Sandoval.
Hi, teacher.
There you are. Daniela Fernanda Sierra.
Hi, teacher.
Hi, Daniela. Ana María Velasco.
Hi, teacher.
Hi, Ana. Jennifer Jimena Vera.
Here, teacher.
Okay, very good. Let me see, Stephanie.
Present, teacher.
Okay, good. Just to confirm, for the moment, the ones that are not here are John. I think that I just saw Mayra Pinzon, right?
Hi, teacher.
Hi, Mayra.
Sorry.
Don't worry, there you are. Oh, it's still like on time. And Janine. Okay. Okay. I think that now John is here, right?
Yes, teacher. Good evening.
Good evening, John. There you are. This is the list from the other group. It takes like a few minutes to do these things, but they are necessary. Okay. 24. Well, guys, as I was telling you a few minutes ago, the idea today is to continue working on our Unit 8 that we started yesterday, talking about mysteries and oddities. Today, of course, we continue with the same line. In this case, we would focus a little bit on mysteries. And in terms of the grammatical component that we will be covering on our unit, once again, I think from my perspective, of course, that it is a great idea that it's just a review of something that we have already studied before, which is modals. We will just have a quick look on that grammatical component that you already know. Just like to give you a general picture for the moment, we would focus a little bit on its use in the past. Of course, we are taking the information or our point of reference is Unit 8, pages 80 and 81. That's the idea. So the first thing that we're going to do is going to be, let's say, to analyze the picture that we have on our page 80. I just like placed it here on the slide to have a look at it a little bit better. And also to have, let's say, the activity that it is being requested to be done with the pictures that we have in here. I'm gonna read the instruction for you. It says, look at the pictures about a woman who disappeared. Match the words and phrases in the box with the pictures. I'm gonna give you like just a couple of minutes for you to have a look at the pictures and to tell me in which pictures you see these words and phrases. We have the hotel register, the hotel doctor, a carriage, a mental asylum, red velvet curtains, a prescription for medicine, to vanish completely, and the plague. Okay, as you can imagine, this is going to be the context of that mystery story that we will be, let's say, we will be listening to tonight. And the title somehow of this section says, the woman who vanished into thin air. So first, the idea is to match. As I told you, I'm gonna give you a couple of minutes just to make sure. And remember, guys, the idea that you tell me in which of these pictures you see these words and phrases. Pretty simple. But anyway, do you have any questions about the instructions?
No, teacher.
No,
Great.
teacher.
Okay, very good. 2 minutes starting now. Let's see. Let's see what we saw. Okay, so for this first picture that we have in here, let me make sure that I can have a look at the list of participants. Yes, I guess. So Daniela Lozada, on this first picture, which of those phrases you would assign to it? Daniela Lozada.
The hotel register.
Register. Very good. Any other expression to be assigned?
The hotel doctor.
The
Maybe.
hotel doctor in the first picture? No, I don't think that he hasn't appeared on that one yet.
It's like someone make the check-in.
Okay, yeah, like the check-in moment in the counter. Would be Harold, good. Let's look at the second picture, Andrea Muñoz. Which of those phrases you see in there?
Red velvet curtains and the hotel doctor.
Let's see that this is actually the hotel doctor and the curtains, absolutely. Okay, what about the next picture, Mayra Pinzón? Which of those phrases do you see in here?
Teacher, courage. I don't know.
A
Yes.
prescription for medicine.
Sorry, Brian.
A prescription for medicine.
A prescription for medicine, yeah, it's like the thing that he is handing her, right? We can say that. What about the next picture here, the first on the second column? Ana Maria.
Maybe the hotel register.
Okay, so the register. Any other of those phrases that you think that we can also assign to that image, Ana Maria? Sorry.
I don't know, maybe a mental asylum.
Asylum.
Asylum. I'm confused about that, so
Okay.
I don't know.
But no, just let's keep it like that, like this is still like the register.
Spanish completely. Teacher, I have a question.
Sure.
What is the meaning of the last phrase, the number 8?
The place?
It's like, yes.
Well, the word is very transparent in terms that it is similar to Spanish. Which word does it look like?
Sí, quería confirmar si es plaga o como el verbo, pues, no, pues no lo había visto antes, aparece como atormentar. También es válido.
Okay. As a verb, it works.
Sí, sí.
Good, absolutely. Yeah, but for the moment, in this case, we're talking about that terrible event that happened in Europe many years ago.
Okay, thanks, teacher.
Thank you. I was going to ask for the next picture. I guess I was going to ask Andrea Vaca. Yes, Andrea? I see that your microphone is on, but there is no sound. Yeah, Andrea, I actually didn't listen anything. But I didn't listen to Andrea. Angelica, what do you think of this picture? Which of those phrases we could assign to it?
To vanish completely.
Very good. And what the final one? What do you think? Which of those statements can be assigned? Christian.
For the final one, method of asylum. In nothing else.
I think nothing else. Very good. Well, technically, guys, you didn't use precisely the statement 8, the plague. In which of those pictures do you think that we can match it to?
Maybe in the 4th one, but there's no real like proof of that.
Maybe at the end of the last one.
At the last one? Okay. Could be. As usual, guys, at this point, we're predicting, right? That is what we usually do in this type of warm-up activities. As usual, as you can imagine, of course, I'm taking the information here from our book. I also put the next exercise on the next slide. Let's read the beginning of the story, you know, so we can add more context to those different images that we have just, let's say, analyzed a little bit in the previous exercise. We're going to read it. Daniela Fernanda, please, could you read this paragraph?
Why, teacher? Sorry. Read the beginning of the history.
Story.
The Great Exhibitions. Paris, 1889. The city was packed with visitors. 2 wealthy English ladies, Eleanor Redwood and her mother Clara, arrived in the city looking for a hotel. They were on their way back to London from India.
Very good. That's all that we know. That's the beginning of the story. Remember that somehow we're going to discover, you know, what happened to this story. We already had a look at the images, and now we have a little bit of context, you know, to start identifying how the events actually developed. Different from other activities, I want to send you to breakout rooms now at the beginning of the session. Guys, what you're going to do is that based on the pictures of the previous exercise that you know that you have them on your book on page 80, let me go back. You are going to predict what happened. But in this case, because we're just starting, you know, once again, we are just making predictions. I don't want you to create any detailed events. For the moment, you are going to make a very, let's say, general prediction, and you won't use no more than 50 words. That is a very important instruction, guys, that I need you to take into account. Of course, we will see how the story develops. We will add more details, more events to the story. But on this first part, we are just making a very general prediction of what could have happened. So make sure that you use no more than 50 words to predict what will be like the development of the story. In this case, you are not going to send the story on the usual PowerPoint presentation that we tend to be working on. You will send it here through a Mentimeter. But guys, you will be doing this activity collaboratively, okay? So in your groups, based on the images that we have, and the beginning of the story, let's predict what happened next, okay? That is basically the idea for this first activity. Guys, do you have any questions about the instructions?
No, teacher.
Okay, so I will be expecting 7 posts on the Mentimeter. Different from other times that we have been using Mentimeter, in this case, I need you also to keep in mind like your names, because in some cases, I'm sure that, well, I'm not going to send you to write down your name because those would be words that you couldn't like use, you know, because of the number of words that you are actually allowed, let's put it like that, to send. Let me check here the list. 24, we're 23. We're together tonight. We don't have repeated names, right? Silvia, Daniela. Okay, very good. So remember, guys, you have the information on your book, so don't worry if when you go to the breakout rooms and you probably didn't take a screenshot, everything is on page 80. Guys, you are going to have 15 minutes. Remember, no more than 50 words. I insist a lot in the instruction because I don't want you like to expand unnecessarily. Up to this point, it is not necessary to add so many details. Well, guys, let's begin.
Teacher, I have a question. In the Mentimeter, we can put 200 caracteres, no sé cómo se dice en inglés, but no words. You say no more than 50 words, yes?
50.
But we can, that 50 words, but we can write more than 200 characters, yes?
250. Sí.
No,
Characters.
200 only, I think.
200?
Yes, 200, yes.
It wasn't, well, okay. If you say that it's 200, Andrea, it's 200.
Yes, say, I say now.
And how, so your 50 words are more than the number of characters that.
Yes, because the
allow.
words have more than 2 or 3 characters.
Ah, okay.
See the picture that I sent to the chat.
You sent a picture, no me sale?
In the chat.
No, I
Zoom.
can't see it. Yeah. Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I see it. Yeah.
200 characters.
Ah, okay. You know, if you want, better have it ready to be displayed when we come back. I'm gonna send like a message to all the groups, because if it doesn't allow you to write down all the story, but that's what's the point, right?
Okay.
So have
Thanks,
it
Ginger.
ready. Thank you, Andrea. Doesn't allow you to write all the words that you have, just in case have, you know, the ending or the development of the story ready. So when we come back, you can just display it. Don't worry.
Profe, yo estaba en el grupo, creo que 5, con Angélica y es que se me cayó el internet.
Es en el grupo 5. En el grupo 5 no hay Angélica. ¿Dónde está Angélica, más bien?
Sí, profe.
Listo. El 4.
Bueno, gracias.
Ok.
Hi, teacher. Teacher, I'm in the group 3.
Okay. We have 1 minute left, actually, but anyway, I'm gonna
Okay,
send
teacher.
you. Okay. Eso no es, creo. Sí. Mentimeter didn't really allow you to write the 50 words because it only has 200 characters, let's say, available. That is why, just in case, if it didn't allow you to paste the whole story, you would in a moment share your screen so we can have a look at the story that, well, not the story, like the development of that situation that we had a look based on the different pictures. And well, let's see how similar or different your predictions are. Let's see the ones that actually could be sent in here. It says, we guess that Eleanor had a mental illness because the register told her that she had arrived alone to the hotel. Later, the register had to call the mental asylum. That was from Diana, Harold, and Sylvia. Okay. Interesting. Let me go back. So she had a mental illness, and that is why they called the asylum. Second possible prediction. The woman had a mental illness and made up the story about her mother's disappearance. Since she used to get lost in different hotels by checking in with fake names, finally she was sent to an asylum. That's interesting. That's an interesting prediction. Which group? Story. Okay, yeah, I was going to ask, which group is in charge of this prediction? Interesting. More details to that one. Number 3. The ladies found a hotel. Aquí como la H suena, toca a y no an. En algunos casos la H es silenciosa, ¿no? Aquí sí suena. Elena is on a hotel, but the older one hasn't felt well during the travel. Ah, the older lady. So they decided to contact the doctor they had met before, and he knows she had the plague and the lady died the same day. Okay. Who was in charge of this prediction?
Group 2 teacher.
Group 2, okay, interesting. They're so creative, guys. Let's see number 4. One of the women got sick suddenly and she died. In order to stay out of trouble, the hotel covered up her death and the receptionist lied to her friend and she was declared insane. Okay, we continue with the mystery. That's a good one. From group number 3. And final answer, of course, that could be sent in here. We see a woman check in a hotel, sorry. She was with her mother when she was making the registration. The mother's, sería the girl's mother, siempre digamos al revés. Was sick, so the front door guy calls the doctor, but the girl wasn't there. Let's see the ones that were sent to the chat. Andrea from group 5. Eleanor's mother was sick and they had to call a doctor. He checked her and sent her medicine. When Eleanor returned to the hotel, she noticed that her mother was missing. She asked the hotel porter and he told her she had entered alone. So he called the authorities and they took Eleanor to the mental asylum. She'd pressured maybe due to the death of her mother, and that's why
She had teacher that.
Okay. She had. Okay.
Yes.
And in that case, we don't use the contraction. We use the contraction when it is an auxiliary.
Oh, okay.
When it is like
teacher.
the verb of possession, we don't contract it. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Good. And that is why he imagined seeing her. He?
Oh, she.
Okay.
She imagined.
Okay, good. Let's see. You know, now the chat here is different because, for example, this is the second message, but the other story, it's like in the final part. Crazy Zoom. Judy Lisette, in charge of group. In which group you were in, Judy?
I forgot the number of my group.
Okay, don't worry.
Number 1, they said.
Number 1, says Janini. Okay. So, Judy sent. She went out to buy some things for herself and her mom, and when she got back to the hotel, her mom just disappeared. Bueno, después de punto mayúscula, ¿no? She went to ask for her at front desk. On the reception desk, there were, nos faltan ver acá, the registration books, and the woman remembered the characteristic pattern of that book when they searched her. She insistently asked for that book, and indeed, the 2 names were there, but the date of that book was 10 years ago. Nice. She had just escaped from a psychiatric center where she was locked up after her mother committed suicide in that hotel. Uy. Group number 1. Oh my God. That was a really good one. Similar to what you were sharing yesterday. Again, I have to find my camandula. Okay. Well, guys, all of your predictions are really, really good. You know, now what we're going to do is that we're going to actually listen to, let's say, the development of the story. Besides listening to that, you are going to answer these 10 questions that we have in here. So guys, once again, no. As you can imagine, the idea is that you take some notes of the information and how it is being presented. I know, guys, that you have a really good level, that all of you have a really good memory, but notice that we have 10 questions. So actually, it is a good amount of information that probably you have to write down. First, of course, we're going to read the questions to know what they are about. Let's read questions number 1 and number 2. Freddy, please.
Okay, number 1. Why had Eleanor and Clara Redwood left India? Second, what happened when they arrived at the hotel?
That would be it. Let's read 3 and 4. Harold, please.
Okay, 3 and 4. What's happening when Eleanor called the doctor? Where, why, and how was Eleanor sent to get the medicine?
Okay.
Where, why, and how was Eleanor sent to get the medicine?
No, sorry, Harold. I was reading something else and I got confused. It wasn't you, it was me. My mistake.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Okay, there was another story sent, but let's read the questions and then we go back to what you wrote in the chat, guys. Jennifer, please. 5 and 6.
How long did the journey take? Why was she surprised when she got back?
That would be it. John, number 7 and number 8, please. John?
Teacher, did you call me?
No, I was calling John.
Okay, I think it was me.
No problem. But I guess I have to ask Mayra Plata, 7 and 8.
Okay. What did she find referred to? What happened when she went to the British Embassy with her story?
Very good. And Natalie, please, 9 and 10.
Okay, 9, it's what about when she returned to Britain, teacher?
Britain.
Britain. And 10, did she ever trace her mother?
Okay, very good. Those are the questions that you're going to answer with the information that is being presented. But before that, let's read the story that was sent before. No, I saw a message. Which is the last message that you see on the chat, guys?
My number 1.
Number 1, that's the last one. Yeah, you know, I saw like that notification, but not. Okay. You know, now the chat in Zoom is very disorganized.
A woman disappeared, a message disappeared. They are disappearing so many things.
No, Janini, no. Okay. We're gonna listen twice. The track takes 3 minutes. Maybe if you listen a third time, in this case, is accepted, you know, because once again, you have to answer all 10 questions. All the information is presented in this track. Also, the questions, they appear in the same order that the information is being presented, you know? So probably if you're waiting for the information like what happened to Eleanor and they are already talking about the embassy, that means that you have already missed that part. I would like to know if you have any questions before we start listening, guys.
No question.
That would be perfect. Let's listen twice. You will let me know if you listen. You need to listen a third time.
Recording 2.
A few days before the Great Exhibition in Paris was due to start, 2 English ladies, Clara Redwood and her 20-year-old daughter Eleanor, arrived in the city on their way back to London from India, where they were escaping the latest outbreak of the plague. Neither woman could speak much French, and it was very difficult to find a hotel room, but after searching for some time, they eventually managed to book the last 2 rooms available at one of the most famous hotels in Paris. After arriving at the hotel, both women signed the register and were shown up to their rooms. The mother was given room 342, a particularly luxurious room decorated with beautiful red velvet curtains. Almost immediately, however, the mother fell ill and they had to call the hotel doctor. He examined Mrs. Redwood carefully, then called the hotel manager and spoke urgently to him in French. Eleanor didn't understand what they were saying, but after a few minutes, The doctor explained in English that he couldn't leave Mrs. Redwood because she was too ill. So he gave Eleanor a prescription and asked her to go and fetch the medicine her mother needed, which was available only at his surgery on the other side of Paris. The doctor lent Eleanor his own carriage to travel in, but the journey was frustratingly slow, and it was 4 hours before Eleanor finally returned with the medicine. She rushed into the hotel foyer and asked the manager anxiously how her mother was. The manager stared at her blankly. "What are you talking about, madame?" he asked. "I know nothing of your mother. You arrived here alone." The hotel doctor also denied ever meeting her mother, and when Eleanor insisted on seeing the hotel register, only the young woman's signature was there. Eleanor managed to persuade them to take her back to room 342, but her mother had vanished and the room was empty. Even more mysteriously, the decorations appeared to have been completely replaced, and the beautiful red velvet curtains had disappeared. The distraught girl rushed to the British Embassy to tell her story, but officials refused to believe her. Eleanor became ever more frantic with worry, and when she returned to Britain, she was declared insane and put in a mental hospital. However, the girl continued to insist that her story was true, and doctors never found any other evidence that she was mentally ill. Eventually, she was released, but her mother's body was never found.
Let's listen the second time.
Unit 8, Recording 2.
A few days before the Great Exhibition in Paris was due to start, 2 English ladies, Clara Redwood and her 20-year-old daughter Eleanor, arrived in the city on their way back to London from India, where they were escaping the latest outbreak of the plague. Neither woman could speak much French, and it was very difficult to find a hotel room, but after searching for some time, they eventually managed to book the last 2 rooms available at one of the most famous hotels in Paris. After arriving at the hotel, both women signed the register and were shown up to their rooms. The mother was given room 342, a particularly luxurious room decorated with beautiful red velvet curtains. Almost immediately, however, the mother fell ill and they had to call the hotel doctor. He examined Mrs. Redwood carefully, then called the hotel manager and spoke urgently to him in French. Eleanor didn't understand what they were saying, but after a few minutes, the doctor explained in English that he couldn't leave Mrs. Redwood because she was too ill. So he gave Eleanor a prescription and asked her to go and fetch the medicine her mother needed, which was available only at his surgery on the other side of Paris. The doctor lent Eleanor his own carriage to travel in, but the journey was frustratingly slow, and it was 4 hours before Eleanor finally returned with the medicine. She rushed into the hotel foyer and asked the manager anxiously how her mother was. The manager stared at her blankly. "What are you talking about, madame?" he asked. "I know nothing of your mother. You arrived here alone." The hotel doctor also denied ever meeting her mother, and when Eleanor insisted on seeing the hotel register, only the young woman's signature was there. Eleanor managed to persuade them to take her back to room 342, but her mother had vanished and the room was empty. Even more mysteriously, the decorations appeared to have been completely replaced, and the beautiful red velvet curtains had disappeared. The distraught girl rushed to the British Embassy to tell her story, but officials refused to believe her. Eleanor became ever more frantic with worry, and when she returned to Britain, she was declared insane and put in a mental hospital. However, the girl continued to insist that her story was true, and doctors never found any other evidence that she was mentally ill. Eventually, she was released, but her mother's body was never found.
Okay, okay. Do you think that you had collected all the information or you may need a third time?
Yes, I did.
I did. No,
A
again,
third?
teacher.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I know that it is a lot of information, so let's listen that third time. Don't worry.
Unit 8, Recording 2.
A few days before the Great Exhibition in Paris was due to start, two English ladies, Clara Redwood and her 20-year-old daughter Eleanor, arrived in the city on their way back to London from India, where they were escaping the latest outbreak of the plague. Neither woman could speak much French, and it was very difficult to find a hotel room, but after searching for some time, they eventually managed to book the last two rooms available at one of the most famous hotels in Paris. After arriving at the hotel, both women signed the register and were shown up to their rooms. The mother was given room 342, a particularly luxurious room, decorated with beautiful red velvet curtains. Almost immediately, however, the mother fell ill and they had to call the hotel doctor. He examined Mrs. Redwood carefully, then called the hotel manager and spoke urgently to him in French. Eleanor didn't understand what they were saying, but after a few minutes, the doctor explained in English that he couldn't leave Mrs. Redwood because she was too ill. So he gave Eleanor a prescription and asked her to go and fetch the medicine her mother needed, which was available only at his surgery on the other side of Paris. The doctor lent Eleanor his own carriage to travel in, but the journey was frustratingly slow, and it was 4 hours before Eleanor finally returned with the medicine. She rushed into the hotel foyer and asked the manager anxiously how her mother was. The manager stared at her blankly. "What are you talking about, madame?" he asked. "I know nothing of your mother. You arrived here alone." The hotel doctor also denied ever meeting her mother, and when Eleanor insisted on seeing the hotel register, only the young woman's signature was there. Eleanor managed to persuade them to take her back to room 342, but her mother had vanished and the room was empty. Even more mysteriously, the decorations appeared to have been completely replaced, and the beautiful red velvet curtains had disappeared. The distraught girl rushed to the British Embassy to tell her story, but officials refused to believe her. Eleanor became ever more frantic with worry, and when she returned to Britain, she was declared insane and put in a mental hospital. However, the girl continued to insist that her story was true, and doctors never found any other evidence that she was mentally ill. Eventually, she was released, but her mother's body was never found.
Okay, guys, I'm going to give you 3 minutes for you to organize your ideas before we actually have a look at the answers of these questions. Probably you already wrote down many things. So 3 minutes and we check, starting now. Okay, guys, thumbs up. Just a mini parenthesis. I don't want to be annoying with the same topic, but seriously, the messages appear like really late in my case. Of course, there are some messages that you have sent me through DM, and the notification appears. I look at the chat and nothing appears. And then after like 20 minutes, I see that some of you guys had already sent me a message like at 8:30, 8:45. So I seriously apologize for that because I hadn't seen the message before. Just wanted to clarify that part. I'm not ignoring you, okay? Just wanted to let you know. Okay, let's see the first question. It was a lot of information, I know, but I'm sure that for you was pretty easy. The last person that read in the previous part. So Sarai, what about number 1? Why had Eleanor and Clara Redwood left India?
Because they were escaping by the plague in India.
Basically.
The latest outbreak of the plague.
Those were the exact words. Yes, very good. Let's have a look at question number 2. That goes to Sylvia. What happened when they arrived at the hotel?
She found 2 rooms available.
She found
2 rooms available, and they both register with the manager and go for the rooms.
And went. Okay. Let's have a look at number 3. I would like to ask Stephanie. What happened when Eleanor called the doctor?
The doctor examined her mother carefully, and he, the doctor explained to the hotel register in France what was happening. Okay.
You said France.
Okay, sorry, French.
Okay. I interrupted you. Sorry, Stephanie. Something else?
No, it's all.
Okay, good. Janine, question number 4 was where and why and how was Eleanor sent to get the medicine?
He was sent to the other side of the city to find the medicine. And how in a carriage, I think, and
yes.
And the trip was so long.
Absolutely. And that takes us to question 5. How long did the journey take, Gilbert?
Sorry, teacher, I didn't quite catch that question.
Okay, don't worry. Let's ask Judy Lisette for some help.
4 hours to find the medicines and return with the hotel.
To the hotel. Absolutely. Joely was waiting in the. But Andrea Juliana, question 6. Why was she surprised when she got back?
Yes, teacher, because the hotel manager and the doctor yes, denied that ever having met Eliana's mother.
Eleanor's
mother.
That would be it.
And they say that they never say that the mom.
They had never seen.
The mom, yes.
Okay. Yes, Frey, you were going to add something?
Yeah, she found out that the decoration of the room was changed. The red velvet curtains were not there because it was like a luxury room.
Okay, very good. Well, that was actually the answer for question number 7. Basically. Well, that was one of the things, right, Freddy? Well, taking advantage of the situation. And what else for that question number 7, besides the decoration? Something extra?
Yeah, she found out that her mother was not there, that she was vanished completely. And the decoration and everything was changed. It was
Absolutely.
different.
Very good, very nice. Mayra Pinzon. No, I was going to ask Andrea Muñoz, sorry. Question 8. What happened when she went to the British Embassy with her story?
Again, teacher, okay.
No, no, I already asked you, right, Andrea? Because the first
yes,
was,
the sixth question.
you are, because Andrea
I'm
Juliana
Andrea
Muñoz.
Juliana. Yes.
And there is Andrea Muñoz and Andrea Muñoz.
Yes, I'm in the cell and in the computer. Sorry.
Okay. The other is Andrea Vaca. Oh my God. I'm gonna change groups and I'm going to forget. Sorry. Ana Maria, you.
Number 8.
Yes.
They refused to believe her, and yes, they didn't believe her history.
Absolutely. That was it. Andrea Vaca, number 9. What about when she returned to Britain?
Well, when she returned to Britain, she was declared insane and put in a mental hospital.
Declared.
Declared.
Okay. Interesting. Angelica, number 10. Did she ever trace her mother?
No, teacher, she never look up her mother.
She never look up? Look up?
Oh.
Maybe she never found?
No, sorry, no. Found, yes. Found.
Could be. Or she couldn't trace her mother? Wait, any possibility that you choose is going to be fine.
I mean, they said that the body of her mother was never found.
Yes. To be
Yes.
more specific. Absolutely. Very good. Okay, guys, good answers. In some cases, couple things of pronunciation, like you wrote the word, like you know how to write it down, but you forget how it is pronounced. But in general, the answers were really good. Guys, based on what we have already read, well, notice that your predictions somehow had certain similarity in some aspects of the stories of the real, let's call it the real story or the ending that they are actually presenting here. Some stories or some details that you share, sorry, were a little bit more mysterious, like the final story that was shared. But notice that at the end of the day, it looks like something without a real explanation. Based on what you, let's say, predicted, and based on what we have just listened to, I would like to ask in this case, Brian, what do you think happened to Mrs. Redwood and why?
Maybe she decided to escape from the room, and probably she had a mental illness and got found in the city, or probably he died when she tried to escape. Probably she fell down and died, and no one can rescue
Rescue her? Okay,
Yeah.
could be. We continue with some of the predictions. Remember that this unit is all about mysteries. Christian, what do you think about the way the hotel and the British Embassy treated Eleanor?
I mean, the most problem about all of this is they already knew that their mother disappeared, but the reason is her mother was infected with the plague. So if you want to avoid that all Paris and all Europe have the plague, you have to disappear that person.
Mhm.
And the only other person who knows where that she was in the country was her daughter. So it's easy to simply say that she is crazy because we
Okay.
have to protect the rest of the population of all Europe.
Okay, interesting point of view, Christian. And to finish this part, Daniela, Fernanda, do you think Eleanor was insane?
Wasn't what, teacher?
Insane.
I believe that no, never. Because in fact, I believe that the history about story about her mother was a lie. So never sick to hotel.
And she was never sick? But she
Yes.
wasn't sick, basically. Okay. Well, to wrap up this story, we're going to listen to a possible explanation for the appearance. After we listen to it, we're going to listen twice. I'm going to ask some of you guys if you find this explanation convincing, if you agree. Let's see. And then, as I told you, we wrap up this story in particular.
Unit 8, Recording 3.
So, what is the explanation for this strange disappearance? Many experts in historical mysteries believe that Mrs. Redwood might have brought the plague back with her from India. If this news had become widely known, it would certainly have ruined the Great Exhibition. So the hotel manager might have conspired with the doctor to keep the terrible news a secret. They certainly must have conspired together in some way or other. However, the British Embassy let the young woman down disgracefully. They should have investigated her story more fully at the very least. On the other hand, surely the hotel staff can't have disposed of the body and redecorated room 342 in just 4 hours. Perhaps, after all, Eleanor was insane, and she made the whole story up. But in that case, what did happen to her mother? And why was she never traced again, dead or alive?
Unit 8, Recording 3.
So, what is the explanation for this strange disappearance? Many experts in historical mysteries believe that Mrs. Redwood might have brought the plague back with her from India. If this news had become widely known, it would certainly have ruined the Great Exhibition. So the hotel manager might have conspired with the doctor to keep the terrible news a secret. They certainly must have conspired together in some way or other. However, the British Embassy let the young woman down disgracefully. They should have investigated her story more fully at the very least. On the other hand, surely the hotel staff can't have disposed of the body and redecorated room 342 in just 4 hours. Perhaps, after all, Eleanor was insane, and she made the whole story up. But in that case, what did happen to her mother? And why was she never traced again, dead or alive?
Okay. Freddy, what do you think?
I mean, I agree with the expert's explanation because actually I was thinking, I thought of this conspiracy theory that maybe there was something between the doctor and the register. Like they were planning the whole thing to get rid of the body and to make her look like insane, Eleanor. So maybe she was telling the truth and nobody believed her because of that. And that's why they never found the body.
Okay. So actually, you consider that it is kind of convincing.
Yeah, for me it is.
Okay, Freddy, thank you very much. Any other volunteer? I would like to ask 2 more of you guys. How convincing was that explanation for you?
Can we say?
First Diana and then Janini, okay?
I was thinking after, sorry, before the listening about the two theories, because when it says that the doctor and the register was talking about something in French that the Eleanor couldn't understand. Maybe was because something was wrong with her mother, and Eleanor couldn't know about it. So maybe it could be that her mother got the plague, and the doctor and the register maybe disappeared her mother. But also it makes sense to that explanation when it says that only for hours how they can change like the whole the decoration well, so I think that both explanations are possible.
Okay, interesting, Jana. Yeah, because thinking like about how rooms were decorated in the past, you know, how difficult probably it could be to manage to put and organize everything for hours looks like not a like a good amount of time for doing that.
Yeah.
Good point. Janini, what about you?
Actually, I want to say to repeat the track because I can listen.
You couldn't listen?
No.
Okay, let's play it one more time. I think that I already, yes. Let's listen.
Unit 8, Recording 3.
So, what is the explanation for this strange disappearance? Many experts in historical mysteries believe that Mrs. Redwood might have brought the plague back with her from India. If this news had become widely known, it would certainly have ruined the Great Exhibition. So the hotel manager might have conspired with the doctor to keep the terrible news a secret. They certainly must have conspired together in some way or other. However, the British Embassy let the young woman down disgracefully. They should have investigated her story more fully at the very least. On the other hand, surely the hotel staff can't have disposed of the body and redecorated room 342 in just 4 hours. Perhaps, after all, Eleanor was insane, and she made the whole story up. But in that case, what did happen to her mother? And why was she never traced again, dead or alive?
So, Janini, what do you think?
I think that it could be possible. I mean, the Horrors and maybe her mom stay in India.
Okay. Okay, could be. Well, guys, notice that all the events that were presented somehow led us to predict. We have been predicting the whole session, you know, and probably from our perspective, we would consider that there are some things that probably need to be done in certain ways. This mini transition is related to this grammatical topic that I was telling you that we were going to refresh our memory about tonight, which is talking about modals in general. In particular, as I was telling you as well, the idea is to have a look at the ones that are connected to past because of the story. But in essence, you know how modals work at the end of the day. We are talking about basically 3 different types of categories that we're going to review tonight, talking about the modals of ability, the modals of obligation, which probably are one of the most common, and of course, talking about the modals of possibility. You know that when we're talking about ability, basically we're talking about being able to do something. In case that the statement is negative, of course, that means that the person is not able to do it. As I was telling you, the intention is to focus a little bit on past, but let's not forget, of course, that we have two ways to talk about abilities in present. We are talking about can and be able to. Remember that we use it with the verb to be. There is also another, let's say, expressions that we can use when we are talking about abilities, which is managed to. That I'm sure that you notice that it appears a lot on the track that we just listened. Actually, both tracks. Usually managed to makes reference that it was a little bit difficult, but at the end, the person had a positive result, like it was successful, anything that you were doing. Somehow, it is implicit the idea of a kind of a struggle trying to get or to achieve that goal that you had in mind. As I was telling you some seconds ago, probably one of the most important categories or the most representative categories when we're talking about modals are the modals of obligation. In this case, we're focusing on past. As you already know, we had to when we are talking about obligations in the past. But in case that we want to be more, let's say, dramatic or no more strict, please guys, let's be careful because we can't really use must to talk about an obligation in the past. The one that we continue using is had to. If we're talking about present, we can use have to and must. That, you know, technically the difference is minimum, to be honest. But in past, actually, it is an important difference. We can't use must in past when we are talking about obligations, of course. The idea is to use had to. And probably you also remember other combinations that we had with modals. In this case, in particular, talking about should have. Basically, should have, if you remember, we were talking about those modals of regrets. But should have, basically, it's talking about something that didn't happen. Like that piece of advice would have been really good at that point. What happened was one thing compared to what I had in mind. That is why the connection that we have with this type of models is models of regrets, because the final outcome probably was different from what I had expected at some point. And of course, the models of possibility that we have the lower degree ones. We have may, we have might, and we have could. The idea of these models in particular is to talk about a really low probability of something. Could be because, well, the odds are not on our side, or maybe because we are not really sure about something. I just wanted to add this information as well, talking about maybe and maybe, how it changes when it is a modal. When it is a modal, we have the two words separated, may be, and maybe altogether it's an adverb, you know, so just be careful when we're using them. What happens with the modals at the end of the day, guys? Because notice that in terms of grammar, all combinations are possible. I can combine all of them based on the situation, if it is present or past. The context is always going to play an important role in here. Like how I want to sound, you know? In some cases, I really need to sound like it's a serious situation. Or maybe I'm just talking about like a low probability of something because I'm not really sure. Or maybe I'm pointing out that there is a kind of possibility to any situation, or like in this case, sorry, talking about the ability of doing something because the circumstances allow me to do that. So the context is very important. And of course, how you want to sound. That is basically the idea in this case. We're just refreshing our memory, guys. But anyway, do you have any questions related to the models?
I mean, it is clear.
Yes.
Probably compared to other tenses, like to wrap this up, that we know that they are very strict, that the combinations are very precise. We always need the context, and notice how we manage like to have a look at different angles of this story, you know, and thanks to that stories, we have already built the context of the situation for our final activity. I'm gonna send you to breakout rooms again. And the idea, guys, is that you're going to write sentences about what the people below should and shouldn't have done, okay? We're talking about Eleanor, the doctor, the hotel manager, and the British embassy, which basically were like the four main actors, you know, of this situation. Look at this example that is provided. Eleanor shouldn't have left her mother in the hotel. She should have been with her all the time instead. It's just one example, you know? And once again, having a look at this statement, we can see that which was the reality. First, that Eleanor actually left her mom in that place, you know, and that basically she wasn't with her all the time. According to the story, it actually took her 4 hours to get that medicine that was supposed to help her. But at the end of the day, well, we already know what happened. Okay. This is going to be the final activity, guys. Let me send you the link. I hope that it works, that your chat actually works. And there is someone in the waiting room. I think that it is only 4 statements. So I'm sure that it is going to be really easy for you. Could you let me know if you actually got the message?
Yes, teacher.
Yes.
Okay. Let me see. How many of you are here? No repeated names.
Yes, teacher. Twice.
Okay, Andrea Juliana, yes, Muñoz. Andrea Juliana Muñoz. In room 5. Move to room 5. That's it. One final activity of the night. Let's start. Okay, guys, time's up. Okay, well, I was having a look at some of the statements. Once again, careful with the combination or the structure, basically. For example, let's have a look at group number 1. It says Eleanor and her mother should check. If we're talking about past, don't forget to include have. Debieron haber. That was like the idea in this case. And hiding his concerns about the Monterines. Might have been soon. The Embassy of England. Okay, must is possible, but it is more like a prediction. So they could have opened, and the verb always in past participle. The British Embassy should have opened an investigation to get evidence about Eleanor's mother's body. Okay. Sorry, I need to see better. Eleanor wouldn't have left his mother that day. Okay, she had to take care of her mother from the hotel and send someone else for the medicine. The doctor, he should have gone himself for the medicine, or he should have sent someone to pick it. Okay, pick up it, pick it up. And the hotel manager should, el never iría en la mitad. Should have never lied about the check-in order. The check-in of the older woman, and he shouldn't have allowed that older person stayed alone in the hotel's room. Quedarse. No quedó. The British Embassy should have helped, past participle, Eleanor to find her mother. They shouldn't have treated her like she was crazy. Let me check this quickly because I want to make sure that when you do the activity in the virtual campus, it is as perfect as possible. She shouldn't have gone to the hotel. She should have taken her mother directly to the hospital. That she shouldn't have spoken to the hotel manager. She should have said the truth. The truth. Told her about her mother's condition. The hotel manager shouldn't have lied to the young woman. He should have told everything to the woman and explained her. No necesita tú. Como, what was the problem with her mother? Como es una oración que parece pregunta, explain her what the problem with her mother was. We should have thought that Eleanor was lying. The British Embassy should have investigated. Guys, should have thought, ¿debieron haber pensado? No debieron haber pensado. Shouldn't have thought, okay. Okay. The British Embassy should search. Remember, guys, everything is in past. Okay. My eyes. More about the situation that was presented, that Eleanor was presented. Traje el punto. Traje mal. It's already 9. No va a ser capaz. We should have left. Well, I think that we are tired. They shouldn't have left alone. They shouldn't have left Eleanor alone. She needed to know the truth. The doctor should have been, debió haber sido. I see that Well, probably that is like the general idea in here. So most of your ideas are in present. Yes, make the correction. Thank you. He shouldn't have kept the secret of her condition because it could be dangerous. Eleanor should have suspected. Me imagino que va ahí va. Should have suspected something when the doctor asked her asked her to go. Le dijo que fuera, ya no han pasado. For the medicine instead of him. They should have suspected something when the doctor spoke with the hotel manager with some suspicious in French. The hotel manager should have asked for help to other persons. Bueno, aquí como algo muy común esta estructura, no sé quién la puso. For not to convince. Two would be the reasons to do something. That she came alone. He should have asked for help to other guests. Ya casi, ya casi. Eleanor shouldn't have left the hotel because her mother was helpless and she should have found a closer place to find out the medicine. The doctor shouldn't have made a deal with the hotel register and should have been honest with Eleanor. The hotel manager shouldn't say lies, porque presente, y las mentiras van con tell. About the latest registration, the British Embassy should have believed Eleanor's story and investigated the hotel's personnel and the doctor. And the final one, Eleanor and her mother shouldn't have stayed in separate rooms and should have chosen one room for both of them. The whole truth about her mother's health, very good. Eleanor should have suspected about the hotel manager. Everything was very weird. Should have investigated more about Eleanor's story and her mother's disappearance. They should have helped her find her money. Maybe it had been useful to discover the truth. Okay, guys, very good. Notice that the use of modal is pretty simple, but there are usually some details that we need to cover. Guys, I really apologize for taking up these few minutes. I'm sure that you are really tired up to this point. Guys, as usual, thank you very much. Tomorrow we will talk about the exam. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a great night.